Hey guys, Chris from American Warrior Forge here. Hey, so today what we're going to talk about is just some of the basics. So if you have been wanting to get into blacksmithing, or maybe you're new to blacksmithing and you just want to focus on some of your basic techniques on how you move metal, this is going to help you. This is a little tip that I picked up: plasticine clay, modeling clay. So modeling clay actually under the hammer mimics hot steel, okay? But the great thing about modeling clay is that it doesn't dry out, so you can use it over and over again, right? I got this box, Sergeant Art modeling clay, 12 different colors, 24 pieces, on Amazon. It was something like, I don't know, 15 or 20 bucks, somewhere along there. I'll put a link in the description to where I got that, because it's a valuable tool. I use it when I have classes and I have students here in my shop, and it really works. So we're gonna take a new brick of it here, and I'm gonna show you guys how to draw your steel out to a taper. All right, so let's go draw a taper. Let's get to the anvil. All right guys, so here's our plasticine, hammer, anvil. That's all we're gonna need, all right? So I'm gonna show you real quickly how you can draw a taper, all right? So when we talk about drawing a taper, there's a couple different techniques. One's a little more aggressive, and I tend to use that if I'm drawing something to a very fine point once I've started my taper, like if you're gonna turn it into a hairpin or something like that. And then the other is just more of just a gentle taper from one end to the other, okay? So what we're gonna do here, I'm gonna break this in half, so I've got something that mimics a square bar. There we go. All right, square bar. Let's just planish this clay up a little bit, get my shape refined. Okay, there we go. So now we've got this square bar. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring this to the far edge of the anvil. All right, and we're gonna tip it up slightly and hit down onto the work at kind of a 45 degree, and then we're gonna rotate 90 degrees. Rotate 90 degrees back, 90 degrees back, and you're just gonna continue doing that until you have the taper that you desire. Now, if you can see that, rather than the rectangular bar we began with, we now have drawn this out, and we have this nice taper from this point where I started hammering to the tip, okay? Now, let's say this was for a hairpin or a railroad spike stake turner, or something like that we want it to come to a more fine point. You can just continue to refine that, continue to draw it out until it gets to your desired length and basically how pointy you want it, okay? And then at that point, if it is gonna be rounded, well, we've got a problem, because currently we're square. So we need to make that round, and to do that, all you're gonna do is bring it up onto the diamond. So you're gonna place the corners, okay? These corners here are what's gonna be on the face of the anvil. And then you're just gonna very gently knock those corners down. Rotate it to the other side's corner, knock that down. Now, that's gonna basically knock the corners down on all four sides, because the anvil is gonna knock the corner down and the hammer is gonna knock the other as you rotate it. Now, it's not round, but it's hexagonal, okay? And then if you wanna refine that point, you can then just roll and planish. I like to roll both directions, because sometimes, especially if your steel's getting too cool, you can planish at a low heat, but if your steel's getting too cool and you're only rolling in one direction, you can have a little bit of a cold shut, and sometimes it'll form a crack. Okay, so as you can see, we've now drawn a taper, and then we have rounded this up. This is very useful, very useful, whether it's going to be, just a hook. You can then bend this over your horn, make it a hook, hairpins. If you're going to make your own tooling, punches of various sizes, shapes, drifts. This is an essential technique to get down. And you can learn to do this very, very quickly. But this practice with clay, other than you don't want to hit the clay too hard because obviously it's going to move a lot faster. But this practice with the clay can really help refine your technique and get you used to how the steel moves before you ever even hit hot steel. So I told you there were two techniques, right? This other technique I'm going to show you real quick with this other half of the clay. Square that up real quick. This other one is a little more aggressive, and it's going to draw, rather than a long sloping taper, it's going to draw you to a very fine point very quickly, okay? And what you're going to do on this one, same thing, you're going to go to the far edge of the anvil, all right? And at the far edge of the anvil, you're going to hang over, okay? I'm actually hanging the work over the edge of the anvil here. Let me move you to the side so you can see how this works, because it's imperative on this technique that you really see how that far edge of the anvil works for you and how it moves the steel. Okay, so like I said, far edge of the anvil, I'm going to actually hang the work over the edge. Okay, if you can see that, it's hanging over the edge. Still tip it up just like before, and we're going to do a half on, half off blow. So half of the hammer is going to hit the work over the anvil, and half of it is hanging off the anvil. Okay, so half on, half off at a downward angle. And we're just going to do that once, okay? And if you notice, the anvil creates a taper and bites in, all right? Creates kind of a shoulder there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to rotate it 90 degrees, and we're going to do the same thing, okay? So now we have this taper started two ways with this isolation at the tip, okay? Now, to finish drawing this out quickly, we're going to bring this back down into the center of our anvil, closer to the near edge, and we're going to tip it up again at an angle. Full face blows down at an angle, and we're going to rotate 90 degrees each way in between each blow. You'll notice when you move into hot steel and you do this same technique, there is going to be a heating effect that happens at the tip. So as your work back here is actually cooling, the tip here will begin getting hotter and hotter because of the rapid movement of the steel between the hammer and anvil as you're working it back and forth. So what you're going to do, you're going to go down, rotate 90 degrees, down, rotate back 90 degrees, down, rotate 90 degrees, and you just keep doing that. And as you can see, that formed our point much quicker. You can get carried away with this technique. That's why I say it's more aggressive. And then you have, some cleanup work to do back here. I typically use this on like hairpins if I'm going to draw to a very fine point. And then once I've got my point, then I will use the same tapering technique we looked at the start of the video to dress up this back half, okay? And then same thing, put it on the diamond, knock off those corners, rotate it onto the diamond, knock off those corners, and then I'm just going to roll it back and forth on the anvil, planishing up that tip to get it nice and round and even. And there you have it. Technique number 2. All right, guys, so plasticine clay shows you two different ways to draw out a taper and bring something to a point, and then to knock off the corners of your square stock to make it round. Now, you can do that square to round, square to hexagonal to round. You can do that even if you're not drawing to a taper, okay? That principle stays the same. But plasticine clay is an invaluable tool, especially for those of you who are teaching others, or if you are just getting into this craft, because this can really help show you what you're doing under the anvil or to the steel on the anvil in real time, but very cheaply. It's moldable, right? So I can just put it back together, shape a new one, and I'm good to go again and try another technique or practice that technique again if I messed it up. So plasticine clay is something you should definitely have in your workshop, and especially if you're just getting started, it's cheap. You know, you don't even have to have all the tools. Get yourself a hammer for $7 at Harbor Freight, get some plasticine clay on Amazon, and then find something to hit it against. You're not even hitting it very hard. It doesn't have to be an anvil, just any surface really, that you can practice your hammer technique before you get into moving hot steel and messing up a project that, you know, maybe you're making something as a gift for your wife or your mom or somebody, right? And so rather than messing it up, take the time, figure it out with the plasticine, and get better, because that's what this is all about. Making beautiful things and making useful things, but ultimately constantly trying to refine our skills, and plasticine clay is an essential way to do that. So I hope this video helped. Hopefully somebody learned something new, and if you're just getting into this craft, you can use this tip to, you know, figure out how to draw tapers and go give it the old college try, and hopefully you come back for more tips. I'll have more uploaded in the near future. Again, I will post a link in the description below on where I got this particular box of plasticine. It was on Amazon. That way you can find that same one and get the price and everything. Like I said, it was about 15-20 bucks, and it's great. This was a new block that we used today. This is the block that I have been using with students, and as you can see, it still works. It's still moldable. I can shape that and use it no problem. So again, I hope this helps somebody. Please like, subscribe, share. I'm a new channel. All the support I can get will help, and ultimately my goal here is just to help you guys, to help those who are looking to get into this craft, to really figure out how it works and light a fire so that you get out there and want to hit some hot steel. So thanks again. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and comment. Hit me up if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys on the next one. All right? Go be a maker.